The broadcast is now starting.
I'll click on record. Okay, so yeah, again, I welcome you to this CAD Studio Online with the subject or topic versioning of drawings with PlantProjectManager. The title is a little bit short. It should be versioning and revisioning and file name formats, and everything which is related to that topic in our PlantProjectManager. Okay, we're getting more and more full. I want to take the opportunity also to point to our next session, the same session in case you have colleagues, so let's say in America or South America, or here in Europe who could not attend. I have the same session at 6 p.m. or 1800 hours German time, or not German, but yeah, what is it? Central European time or so. And then there is the next English one. I should have mentioned the day, the time again at 1400 and 1800 hours, or 2 and 6 p.m. on Monday, the 15th of April. There I will have the topic from PFD to P90, which involves several plan tools. In general, what we try now is to host more and more of these half-hour CAD Studio Onlines in English for our plant customers. Most of our customers of CAD Studio are in architecture or MEP or BIM, but mostly or almost exclusively here in the German-speaking countries. And so, but we have a lot of customers throughout Europe or globally, which we want to serve also with English webinars. And we have a lot of interest from customers through the Autodesk App Store, where all our plant tools are available. So we invite you, and we will have also, or we have a newsletter, a special plant newsletter. I want to point to our homepage. If you go to cadstudio.com and you switch to English, we have our standard newsletter, which is probably not that interesting for you because it's usually it's only in German. So in case, there is, there was some, it's actually not shown here. But the plant newsletter, if you or your colleagues want to get notified or make sure that you always get notified, just go to products and then CAD Studio Plant Engineering. And there is also a video from Las Vegas, where we have one of our customers from Kansas City speaking. And then there should be, where is it? Support. That's interesting. Oh, there it is. In the German side, it's a little bit on a different area. So sign up for the newsletter. This is exclusively a plant newsletter. Also, I recommend going to PlantExpressTools. Today, I will just concentrate on PlantProjectManager of PlantExpressTools. But if you go to PlantExpressTools, 2 weeks ago, I created 17 for all our 17 functions of PlantExpressTools. I created short videos. They are between 17 and 58 seconds long, which showcase the individual functions, so you get a better overview. This is actually was a request for quite some time from customers or resellers to get, there should be something in English. To get an idea. Of course, every video is just really short. It's really hard for me as a technical person to make these videos short. Okay, that's about it. What I have as PowerPoint. And now let's dive in. Just see that there is save time still turned on. Yeah, it's okay. So versioning, revisioning, file name format, also project and drawing properties. So let me just see how many. Yeah, okay. So we started developing our own project manager. We call it PlantProjectManager. So I use that just to differentiate between our PlantProjectManager and Autodesk Project Manager. The reason is that we cannot, through development, extend, for example, the context menu of the regular Autodesk Project Manager. So anything we try here, making a right click and add our own functions, it's impossible. So we developed our own, which was actually really time consuming. And of course, we want to be, let's say, more flexible than the project manager Autodesk provides. So first of all, there is a little difference in the way we present the various, we call it categories. So we have P90, 3D. Then we don't have a tab here for orthos and ISO. So you have categories here, ortho, ISO, spec sheets, and related files. So this is what you more or less know from the project manager of Plant 3D or P90. However, if you click on the project, you have your project properties available for editing. So there is no need to go into project setup to edit project properties. That's just one small step. And then if you click on a drawing, you have all your drawing properties available for editing. You can also make that smaller or expand and collapse the side panel here on the side. Then we have one more tab. So we have details. So these are the, you know that. I make it a little bit bigger. So just to, so you see everything. Okay, so you have the properties or the details like created by and modified. There is also a section coming from PlantExpressTools. So the category name, which is P90 drawing. So this drawing is under the category P90 drawings, and the last version of that drawing and the last revision of that drawing. So you can use, especially version or revision, you can use, for example, in your title block. That's the current version and revision. I will get back to that later. So in case you, let's say, want to define a file name format, depending on the category. For example, in 3D, you don't need a file name format, but in P90, you want to have a file name format. Then you can make a distinction depending on the name of the category. Then we have the properties of the drawing. You have the work history, which is what Autodesk also presents. That's an old drawing, dates back quite some time ago. And then there is a fourth one. If you have versioning activated, then you see the history, which is kind of, a little bit, let's say, unstructured from all the testing. But here you see maybe a little bit better example. Anyway, so this is the history going from old to new. You see the date, the name, and some description I typed in. You will see how that works. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to create our own category. I want to create a file name format for that category. And I also want to define drawing properties using selection lists. And those properties are supposed to be used in the file name format. So how does it work? So let's start with creating a new category. So let's say we want to create a category for PFDs. So I go to the category settings and I have here all my categories. And there is also one which is deactivated or disabled. So you can actually, let's say in your template, you can create a lot of categories which may not be used for every project. So you can disable them in an individual project, for example. Or for me, of course, it was for testing purposes. So I create a new category. I type in a name for the category. Of course, it must be unique, PFDs. Then you select, is this, because AutoCAD Plant 3D knows only, let's say, P90 data, or P90, 3D, ortho, ISO. There is miscellaneous, but that's not actually, cannot be used here. So if you create a new category, you have to tell the user interface Should it be part of the PNID or 3D? Let's say, yeah, PFDs make sense to have them in the PNID database, essentially. If you want to create maybe a category for steel structure, you probably then use 3D. So this is what's behind it. Here you have the 4 checkboxes for the 4 tabs. So let's say I don't need the work history because I have now versions and revisions, so I don't need that. Then the document path. So PFDs. What you see here as PP, there are also a lot of tooltips in our user interface. So PP stands for project path. Some of the users in that webinar already use some plant tools in some form, and we use these variables very often. So essentially that means that my folder for the PFDs will be under the project in the folder PFDs. There is also a backup path, which is under the project backup PFD. So if I create later a version or a revision, the old version or revision will be stored in that folder. Of course, you can select any other folder. Not much to see here. Okay. Then let's go to the file name. Well, we come back to that later. Document name and file name format. I will explain in a moment. We want to activate versions and revisions. Let's make that bigger. It's a little bit longer. Okay. So revisions, should they be numerical or alphabetical? If numerical, do you want to start with small, or do you want to use small letters or capital letters? Do you want to allow override? That means that, okay, it will increase the number of the revision, but you still have the ability to override it. So in my case, I don't want that. Or you can completely set it to manual, then you can type in whatever you want. Maybe interesting for customers who have a very unique, let's say, system of creating versions and revisions. And then this checkbox here defines that if I create a new revision, that the version will start all over again. So let's say you start versions, that's here again, or numerical or alphabetical. Length means if you have 2 digits, it would be 00, 01, 02, and so on. You can start at 0 or 1, or you can set it to override again and manual. So if I create version B, a revision B, then if this is checked, the versions would start from 0 again. In case you do not want that, you want to have a continuous version, no matter what the revision is, then you uncheck that. So again, I will come back to document no text and file name format in a moment. I should have mentioned, we will come back anyway, that you can change the order. I actually want to move it up. I will do that later. So to see or to understand the file name format and the note text. So the note text is what you see here. You see here kind of a mixture from my testing. So this is actually the file name format I want to create in a moment. And you see the text here. And this also in this case reflects, you see in the tooltip, the file name, which is the same just with DWG at the end. But the file name format and the text here in the tree show the same info, let's say. But there are cases, which I will explain if I set the file name format up. There are cases, or I give you an example, where you may not want that. That has to do also with using xrefs. Okay, so we created a category. Now, before I create the file name format, I want to create 2 new properties I want to use in my file name format. So here we have also, as currently as part of the Plant Project Manager, we have Plant Project Setup. Okay, yeah, sorry. Before I go there, I have prepared something. I have 2 Excel files I want to use in a moment. So this is for frame sizes. So I have here the German DIN A0, A1, A2, and so on. Some description, a key value. So I close that. And I have another one where I have PFD, PNID, some, let's say, type of, or the, what? Yeah, the drawing type, let's say. I know that I'm now in the business for, I think, 31 years, and some customers use, or encrypted, let's say, encrypted in their file name, the type of drawing, whatever, 10 PNIDs, 11 PFDs, and so on, something like that. So since I had these open, I got this error message. Okay, that's better. So plant project setup. That's a whole topic in itself. What we want to accomplish is to, or what we started, let me put it that way, is to have the project and drawing properties available, categories and properties available here for editing, for changing, but also later on to have all the P90 and 3D class settings and properties available here. And what advantages come from there, I will explain in a moment. Also, we want to bring all the plant tool settings in one user interface. So we have 8 different plant tools. Every plant tool has its settings, but some settings are the same, like proxy settings, like the language of the user interface. Yeah, for example. So we want to bring all that together. And the first step is here plant project setup with it as part of PlantExpressTools. But this user interface will later on be available in all plant tools. Of course, you cannot make changes to every plant tool from every other plant tool. So there will be restrictions, things will be disabled. But in general, it is one user interface also for us from development standpoint. It's just one user interface. And if we make an addition to the user interface, it's available everywhere. So now we want to concentrate on drawing properties and drawing categories. So what I want to do is I want to create a new category. Essentially, that's the same as you can do in project setup. And if you create a category there, it will be available here as well. So I will use one, let's call it demo or PET demo, press return. You can, of course, delete them. If you delete them, they are not deleted yet. They are hidden. Only if I click on OK, they will be gone. I can undo that. So now it's back here. And I want to create 2 new properties. So let's call it frame. And another one I call, let's say, type. That's for the PFD or PNID. Also, what you can do, you can set the default value. Well, I will come back to that. Currently, you can select only string. At some point, we will introduce also numeric, Boolean, maybe date time, because it is possible to use date time data types. But of course, Plant3D doesn't allow it directly through their user interface. But we can do whatever we want, almost. So now frame. So you can also change the display name here. What I want to do is I want to use a selection list. And here you can define, oh, that's from my last demo. It's no, not quite that big. Just want to, okay, make it nice and big. Actually, we don't need it that big. So what you can do now is for this property frame, in AutoCAD Plant3D, you can define only drawing properties or project properties which use a string. So you can type in a text, but that's about it. Here you can use a selection list. It can be one of the PNID selection lists, whichever you created. There are some selection lists from my demo project or from other customers, or from a 3D selection list, but also from other sources. Either if I hover over You can use, SQLite databases with various, let's say, file extensions. You can use CSV files or an XLSX file as the data source. If this is not enough, you can use UDL files, which is a Windows text file format, which essentially allows you to link to, let's say, Access or SQL Server. We have there is one customer from a reseller of us in, I don't know which country, but they use Oracle with one of our with PlantLink. But so these are the typical Access and SQL Server are the typical databases customers use. But in general, there wouldn't be any limitation. That's really a purely Windows topic, let's say. So I have these two Excel files. So this was, that's my project, related files. And you simply can drag and drop. So let's see, where is my AutoCAD? Bring it in the foreground. So you simply can use drag and drop. The file name or the path will be adapted because that Excel file is under my project. The user interface already adapts it. Here you see the real path or the full path, and we allow or we adapt the path to make it a relative path, so to speak. Of course, you can override it then again. Then this Excel file has a header. Now we see here the column description and value. And there is a little difference compared to AutoCAD selection lists. In AutoCAD, you have, if you use selection lists, you have the value or the key and the description. What we do here is we essentially what is selected here, this is what the user later will see in the properties palette after he selected something from the selection list. So let me show this as an example. I use this, let's say, frame size. Here you can test what you set up. Also, you can define or select any additional column you have in your, in this case, Excel file, or it could be a database table. So you can have as many as you want. And if you test it, you will see all those. You can change the order. Let's say frame size should be at the top or the first column. So now you have frame size, key, and description. The key is what is essentially used. This is what you also see. This is what I later want to use in the file name. But the user will, if he uses that example, he will see, let's say, this description. So this is what is actually selected here. So you can actually, other than with, or compared to Plant 3D, where you cannot do this, you can kind of hide the key value. There are some, an example would be the services list or the services in Plant 3D, where you have, let's say, CWS for cold water supply, I think it is. So you select, you see in the selection list CWS and cold water supply, but after you selected it, it only says CWS. And here you still could see cold water supply. So it's extremely flexible. You can set it up any way you want. You can change the order of the columns. You can see, you can define what is actually the value, which is later then used somewhere, and what is shown to the user. Okay, so this is number one, and the second one. Also, this is my other select Excel sheet. That's the doc types. Hold on. Just want to make it a little bit quicker so we don't need to. Oh, okay, I need to select this. And so it's the same essentially. Description here. I leave it at like this. Also, you can define default values. This is also new. So I want to say PFD is my default value, and here 10 or A0 is my default value for the size. Okay, so now I created category, I created properties, click OK, and now I define the file name format. So I go to my categories. First of all, so I do not forget this, I move it up to the top. Now it's here. And now I define the file name format. So what I'm doing is I click on this button and the expression editor opens. Some of you who may already use some of our plant tools may recall or may know that expression editor. We use it in various plant tools. It's always the same. It allows you to essentially, like in Excel, that's the comparison I give. You can compare it with an Excel formula in a cell. You can define, you can use if, you have mathematical operations, you have date time, you have string operations, some logical operations. We also define some of our own. So all that is available. So there could be some let's say more complex mathematical calculation, which in this example doesn't make sense, but you probably want to use maybe date time fields or string operations. And the example I want to use is actually really simple. So what I'm doing is columns. Of course, you have all your drawing properties and all your project properties available. Also some, let's say, additional columns, let's call it. Well, that's what it says here, like file name. There is also, file name or the last version, the last revision. And here it says either V for version or R for revision. So whatever is the latest version or revision, or whatever is the latest version or revision. So in case you want to use those in the file name, in the title block. So what I want to do is I want to use the project number for my file name format, then plus, then I want to use the drawing, that's drawing number. Then I want to use, let's see where I have those. Let's say the document type plus the frame size. And I will add a delimiter between those. So I will copy that. The expression editor we see here also makes syntax checks, so you don't do anything, let's say, wrong, like in my case. So then it gets red. Also, I think I can remove that. I prepared something. I will now copy, and I will explain it in a moment. But for time constraints, I have to shorten my presentation a bit. You can also format it a little bit better. That will actually be stored. So later on, if you come back to the expression editor to make changes or so, you will be able to, well, we can leave it at that. You will be able to see the same structure. You can, anyway. So project number plus, then again, the delimiter, dash, number, document type, frame size. And what is happening here is that I'm checking if the version is empty. If it's not empty, then add an underscore V for version and the version number. And then check if the revision is empty. And if it's not empty, then add an underscore R for revision and then the revision number. So that's, you will see how that works in a moment. So that's my file name format. And last, since we have now the version and revision in the file name format, which is actually one of my developers says, yeah, I don't like that. Because if you use xrefs, that can cause a problem because you renamed a drawing and now the xref link is broken. So my developer says, don't use version and revision here. Use it in the document node. This is why he had this here. So, however, in my example, I say, yeah, I know, but there are customers, I'm doing this for 31 years. Everyone has his opinion. So what is happening here with that is that the node text, so what we see in the tree is what is calculated for the file name format. Okay, and it should be unique also in subfolders. That's just an option. Okay, so now that we did all that, we can now create a drawing. So here's my PFD now at the top. I create a new drawing, and we see the project number, which is read-only because it's a project. I cannot edit it, so otherwise all the drawings would be renamed. And I type in a drawing number. Here's my type as with the default value. Actually, I thought I set PFD. Maybe I was wrong. And the size. And as you already see, it, if I say A2, it's A2 is 12. You also see the formula if you care about that. You can also this dash shouldn't be here anyway. Yeah. You can also go to override, which then allows you to completely type in whatever you want. Yeah, and then the initial version or initial revision, depending on where you start. Sometimes maybe that's a drawing which already has a higher revision and you essentially rework it, then maybe you don't want to start with the first version or the first revision. So anyway, and you cannot type in because I did not allow override. Otherwise, you could type in any version or revision. You see the date and time complies to your Windows settings. So don't worry. I have at 6 p.m. A session with US customers. I hope they do not get distracted. You can type in a text, initial drawing, and this is where the file is located or will be located, and the drawing template. Okay, the drawing will be created and will get a proper name. We see it here. Drawing is locked. Also, those informations I want to, let's insert something. So we can create a version or revision. It's not really important for this demo. And if you want to create a version or revision, what you do, first of all, you have to close the drawing. Otherwise, you cannot create the version or revision. And then you click here. And now you define either, okay, I want to have a new version or a new revision. Again, in my setting, if I create a new revision, the next version will be 0. So, but I want to increase only the version. Again, text is a mandatory. There is also some empty description not allowed. So you get some tooltip, demo text. Okay. Also, if you use version and revision in the file name, like I do, then you want to consider this checkbox. We do this on purpose. Again, it comes down to using xrefs, and that may cause a problem. So by default, we do not rename the drawing, but you can check it. And now you see the new name would be V1. And this is the backup name, which I will show in a moment. And that's about it. So creating a version is very simple. The file name changed. So not just the text here, also the file name on your disk or hard drive. And regarding the regarding the backups, so sorry, I'm completely blind. PFDs, there it is. That's my drawing. So it will note the last revision, which was blank. So this is why there is nothing. And the last version before I increased the version. So of course that is V0 because that was the file name. And then again, the date and the time of the backup in case Windows or you copy it and the file name here and date will change. So here you have all the versions and revisions. And last, if I select the drawing, you will see the history here. And by the way, what you see here can also be created as a report with Plant Reporter. These information are stored in a separate database, and Plant Reporter knows of this database. And so you can create a document report, let's say, or a history report of your drawing versions and revisions. So I see there is a question or revision. Let me just Using it in order, can we start revision as alpha for? Yeah, you can change if you want the first of all, you always have the so sorry, I should mention the the question. So essentially, can you change let's say in the middle of the project the whether it is alphabetical or numerical? So this is possible. You definitely can go to manual, then you can type in whatever you want. If you use it in the file name, PlantProjectManager makes sure in case you type in something which creates a file name which is already in use. So because yeah, if you can type in something manual, we check that. But you can go to manual and then completely change type in whatever you want. But you can also say, okay, I go to from alphabetical, I go to numerical in the middle of the project, and then it starts counting alphabet. Yeah, whatever you change it to. Another question is it so? If you have questions, just feel free to type in. It's possible to get back with the version revision number of the to the automated field and title block of get back. Not quite sure what that is referring to. So first of all, you can use our version and revision properties we create and which can be seen here. So version 1, and there is also sorry, it's down here. Yeah, now we have it twice. So you can use that in the file in your title block, for example. You can do that, and the properties we use here can also be defined. So in case you do not want to use our category, version, and revision, so these are the 3 properties you see here. These are actually properties, although we show them under details and not under properties. That's we had this discussion because these are more, yeah, essentially not essentially, they are properties. But if you and we predefine them. But if you want to use your own properties and want to store the version, the latest version or revision or the category name in your all existing property, then you can do that. So we just make these, let's say, predefined properties, but you can, if you already have a property for version or revision, you can use your properties. Next questions, using the auto revision, can we start? Okay, that was, is it going to get back? Older version. Yeah, so, okay. That was a discussion also we had internally about reverting back to an older version or revision. This is currently not implemented, although it would be very easy. We could have, let's go here, a context menu kind of revert to version revision. And then from the backup folder, we can then essentially back up this one and then use the old one and copy the files in the background and so on. The questions we had, first of all, this is, although understandable, that was, I'm very creative and I can think of many things customers want to do, but I also have experience in working on projects, especially in PNID, not so much of a piping designer, but if it comes to drawing PNIDs, I have also a long history working on projects with hundreds of PNIDs. And there is hardly any reason for reverting back to an old version. Again, we did not implement it yet. It would be easy. But the question then comes, if I revert back, let's say now I'm at V1 and you start drawing, make changes, and now you think, oh, that was all wrong. I have to revert back to V0 or wherever you are, or going back 5 versions. The first question which pops up into my mind is, okay, we are at V1 And now I want to revert back to V0. What is the next version? Is it now V2? Probably it should be, because with versions and then there is maybe a difference. Versions, we are more flexible. Versions are for internal use, so I go back to V0. But with revisions, you probably do not want to do that. So because a revision is usually delivered to, let's say, your customer. So he has revision B, and then now you define, even if you talk to the customer and you say, oh, that all was wrong, you want to revert back to revision A. So you do that. So is the revision, then if you revert back to A, is that C? So this is more the question. Maybe someone can give me an answer to that, and probably, and this is why I love to have PlantTools be as flexible as possible to cover all my bases, because I know someone will use it one way and another one another way. So what you have to do right now is you actually remove the drawing from your project. You can, by the way, we have a nicer user interface. So you remove it, which I will not do now. And then you essentially copy drawing to project, and you use the old version from the backup folder. So yeah, that's what you should do. Okay, next questions. That was are these settings of file name revision only for? No, good question. So what I did not show because of time constraints is, and this is why we have a mixture here in my PNID folder. This is my project. I create my PlantTools demo project. I created several versions ago. It contains a lot of customer use cases for various PlantTools. And PlantProjectManager is relatively new, especially the version and revision feature and the file name format. So you can see a mixture here. I already renamed some, but here is one I did not rename. So you see the old file name. You see it's at version 4, revision C, but it's not shown. So what you do is, if you create a you can use rename. If I use, that would be the version. So if I use rename, you see the project number, drawing number, type, and so on, version and revision, and it's set to override. If I turn that off, now all of a sudden, that's the only thing you need to do. It reverts, or it calculates the file name new, or it makes a new calculation of the file name. Now that I use that, so you can decide either use or keep the existing file names, or you can step by step rename them. You can also, I do not want to do this because it's my demo project. You can also use, sorry, that was the wrong button. Rename multiple, okay, multi-select. Some features like remove the drawing can also use, actually. Okay. No, okay, rename is not possible to have multi-select. So you simply uncheck this, and then the file name is calculated. And independent of that, I have to say, as you can see here, I have, let's say, the old format or no format, but you still can create a version and revision. It simply will not create or will change the file name, but you can still like go from 4 to 5 or C to D, whatever I select. So you can really mix that. Please link to the demo in order to refer to it. Sure. So someone wants to have the link to the demo. I hope I started the recording. Yep. I can send you the link to the video, or are you talking about the demo project? The demo project doesn't make sense if you don't have PlantTools. So I definitely, I can send you the link, Khaled. I will, if any one of you wants to have that video please send. I already closed the PowerPoint, but let's see. It's probably somewhere behind. There it is. For those of you who do not have my email address, it's on the first page here. Come on. Oh, I did not save it. So if you want to send me an email to get the link to the video, I will convert this to MP4. And so you can, what is US keyboard again? I have a German keyboard, sorry. catstudio.com. So just send me an email so I can send you the link to the video. It will take a few minutes to convert. And thanks for the questions. I should mention this in my demo at 6 p.m. so people can prepare with their questions. So I hope you enjoyed that demo. Again, the next one will be on April 15th about from PFD to PNID. And there I will show various plant tools. It will include again, PlantProjectManager to have the various categories. It will use PlantLink to bring data from PFD to PNID. It will probably use PlantSpec-driven to update catalog data after after data comes from PFD to PNID. Also PlantExpressTools calculation to calculate flow information, and so on. So if you're interested, also again, I want to point to the newsletter. Go to the English Cat Studio site and then go to Cat Studio Plant Engineering, and there is a link where you can link to the new, or you can apply or register for the newsletter. But if you are on the list for this session today, then you will probably get it anyway. But if you want to make sure, then just submit for the newsletter, and then we keep you up to speed regarding any future webinars, which will be approximately monthly with specific topics and use cases from various customers. Okay, then I wish you a nice rest of the day wherever you are. Probably most of you are here in Europe. Okay, bye.